Okay, so this is Dustforce. Start the timer in
XD.
3. Yeah, Dustforce XD, the actual title. So we're gonna go right into it in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, well that's a good start.
I'm glad they heard the dog. That's the most important thing. Oh god.
So this category is any percent. There's two kinds of completion in this game. Any percent, and I guess it's like the 100% category. It's called SS All. Those are the two main categories. And the way that you get an SS rank on a level is by cleaning all of the dust and killing all the enemies. And the second S is for not dropping combo, and you can see the combo meter in the bottom left.
The Fat Man 922, you're in luck. If you think you missed Valley, just stick around for about 3 more minutes. We'll blow your mind.
Yeah, and if you missed Valley, well, then you'll get to see it again.
So what Flotsa just did there is called a special attack, or what the Dustforce community calls a super, and it clears all entities in a radius around the character when it's used. It also restores an extra air charge, which we'll probably talk about in this level.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so Jen, yeah, you wanna go? You wanna take this?
Yeah. So normally, Dustman and Dustgirl and Dustworth have 1 air charge, which means that they can jump or dash once in midair. And killing an enemy or using your super restores that air charge.
And the dashing doesn't count. You can like don't dash as much as you want as well.
That's a good boost.
Yeah, nice.
Nice.
There's 4 level sets, well, technically 6, I guess, level sets in the game. There's Forest, Mansion, City, and Labs. And normally, the game intends for you to kind of go in a big circle a bunch of times around to all of the different level zones and beat all the easy levels and then the progressively harder levels. But in the speedrun, that's not what we do, because that's slow.
So the way usually it's set in every level set is that you get 4 by 4 levels of difficulty. So right now, because this is any percent, you won't see any way to differentiate the difficulty from the doors of the levels. But originally you have keyless levels, bronze key level, silver key, only gray key, and gold keys, which you get by beating the previous difficulty levels. So like if you beat a keyless level SS, you'll get bronze key extra.
In this run, the ranks on the doors determining their difficulty doesn't really mean anything, because this run is done on an NG+ file, which means all the levels are already unlocked. So the ranks that Flotsa talked about earlier,
Are totally
the like
irrelevant.
double S ranks, they don't mean anything in this category.
Also, after you complete every level, there's a short delay before the score screen usually pops up, but you can just exit the level before that, and occasionally you can actually, well, I mean, you could always do it before you finish the level, but it's risky, and yeah. It's called an early exit. If you exit
So, yeah,
before you
when-
finish the level.
Yeah, when you early exit, what you need to happen is that the level finishes during the fade out, so that it still can count as the level as finished, even though you tried to exit before it was. And you can't register an input, so usually you would do something like an attack or a special an early exit during that time, so the level can finish without any extra actions.
So there's a question in the chat asking if the characters are different. All of the characters are different. The blue and the red character are
Oh,
mostly
playing Yellow
similar
Dustman.
for... Oh yeah, sorry. The yellow and the red character are mostly the same regarding
Mhm.
anything that will be showcased in this run. The purple character has really fast attacks, although they have a short range, and she has a triple jump. And the old man, the green character, is really broken, has a really high jump, and has really large slow attacks.
He's basically Luigi.
He uses a vacuum too, he's really swag.
You're pretty much only gonna see Dustforce in Mansion, so you'll get really tired of him really fast, I promise.
Well, I use a lot of Kid in Mansion because I'm that optimal.
Kid is fine.
So right here was getting hit during this battle level. So in every like level set you get at least one. I think there's only one actually. One battle level. And getting hit actually gives you more super gauge, so you can super early and pretty much finish the entire screen pretty early. So actually getting hit in that level doesn't make it slower, since you get more super gauge.
And since this is any percent, getting hit doesn't affect the completion score, so it's a perfectly fine thing to do. I said completion, I meant finesse.
Yeah, but oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I was gonna say, but isn't finesse, like, the same thing? And then I realized that I made the same mistake.
So here in Grass Cave, Flotsa is jumping into an illegal tile where he will get clipped through due to the certain geometry that is formed at that section. And then in the gap that he falls into, there is another illegal tile of different geometry that he can just dash or walk through. And then he'll get clipped through there as well. And that sends him essentially to the end of the level.
Oh, that's not intentional.
Is there really
That's
gonna
what
be
I
the
said.
Dustforce level because you have to jump?
Yeah, you have to jump in this level, like, a lot, so it's a Dustforce level.
At least once.
Mm-hmm. So throughout this level, Flotsa has been collecting dust, despite the fact that he doesn't need to get an S rank on completion. It's so he has enough dust at the end to super that bear, instead of attacking it with heavy or light attacks.
Which ends up being faster. Also, I noticed, but yet, everything in this game is really emphasizes momentum, especially landing on slopes and curved ceilings. Anything like that will push you forward and make you go faster. And Flotsa will try to take advantage of that to get some extra speed a lot of times, just like there on Summit. And he also uses it in the Nexus to get around to different levels fast. It's one of the core elements of the game.
A lot of people classify Dustforce as a precision platformer, but the precision does not come from, like, precise tricks regarding pixels, but rather on the frames you have to keep your momentum. So it's precise in the sense that you have to keep your momentum well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you may hear me mashing my dash key, but it's not actually a mash, it's actually a timed
Rhythm.
set of inputs. And by set of inputs, I mean it's one input, but yeah, it's a rhythm.
Oh,
Oh god.
the guy really
That was
launched you.
unfortunate.
Yeah, I got launched.
So don't forget Night Temple.
Yeah, right.
Just saying.
Pretty crucial.
More on the dash rhythm thing. If you wait longer between dashes, then you lose some speed due to ground friction. So getting the perfect rhythm is best because it will keep your speed at a constant.
Wait a minute.
Theoretically, no dust scroll.
I
It's gonna
can't
keep
do
your
it.
speed up relatively high, or like whatever it was at, as long as you keep the dash rhythm. If you start to make it slower, you'll gradually lose speed over time. Also, if you go too fast, you might skip an entire beat, if that makes sense. So if you do the input too early, the game won't hold on to that input like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a buffer or anything. You'll just miss that dash input, and as a result, you'll probably just spend about 12 frames sitting there on the ground and losing speed. So too fast is really slow. Too slow is kind of slow. Basically, you just want to get the sweet spot rhythm, and you're good.
To give an idea, the perfect dash rhythm should be something about 277 BPM.
For all you musicians out there.
It's alternating between 12 frame and 13 frame intervals at a game that runs at 60 FPS, except it's a bit more complicated than that, but even I don't know the exact specifics regarding it. It's really complicated. Going back to earlier when Flotsa was getting the Night Temple, he got stuck in a ceiling and he started falling down to the level below. But instead of climbing back up to Ancient Garden to try the jump again, he exited the Nexus and then re-entered the door, and it spawned him at the level that he just played last, or that he entered last. And that's just how stuff like that works in the DX update. Prior to it, it would spawn you at the Nexus door to separate hubs. It's just a change in DX. So if you mess up, like climbing, and you fall down really far, it's faster to just exit the Nexus and re-enter.
And this level has a kind of big skip where you can just go over most of the level.
Yeah, we pretty much just missed half of it right there.
And that was some spaghetti,
You,
but
you didn't die.
Yeah, I didn't die, so it's still fast.
Right, that's another thing. So he's canceling his heavy attacks there. Normally, when you do a heavy attack on the ground, you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can do another one, and it's pretty slow. Like, it's noticeable if you're playing the game that you really have to wait a while between heavy attacks. But if you dash at a certain time after you've done one heavy, you'll immediately be able to do another one. The effect of that is you can kind of just spam heavy attacks if you keep doing heavies with dashes immediately after them. So you can do heavies pretty quickly and get rid of enemies very fast that way.
That was actually another change that was added in the DX update.
Oh yeah.
It used to be where you had to press jump, dash, wide attack, and heavy attack on the same frame, or at the same time to do that, but now it's just dash and heavy. I think I added an extra key in somewhere.
Yeah,
I think
I
you
think
can also...
didn't need light there.
Alright, sounds about right. Yeah, if you used light, you would use a super if you had it, so that's certainly not right.
Oh yeah, welcome to Mansion, by the way.
Yeah, so we're done with Forest.
This is Dustforce Mansion, because Dustforce will be played on most levels, because he's busted.
textbooks can be really annoying sometimes. They can hit you and interrupt, like, all of your momentum like that.
Oh yeah, that old tech used to be called 4 butts because you had to press 4 buttons at the same time.
As you can kind of see at the end of library there, super attacks aren't necessarily always a thing of convenience. They're also a big, they make a big time difference. They're also pretty necessary for going fast a lot of times. So it'd be a lot slower to finish off all the enemies at the end of library one by one. So if you have a super, you might as well just use it. That goes, that pretty much goes for most levels, even if they're just turkeys that you can kill in one heavy attack. If you have a super, it's almost always faster to just use it on a big group of enemies.
In the mansion, those turkeys are those floating gargoyles. They don't look like turkeys, but we call them the same.
Oh yeah, you can call them turkeys. The game might actually call them turkeys, I don't remember. But it's like the forest one.
Yeah, in mansion they're called gargoyles for sure.
Yeah.
And then there's slime balls in lab, I think.
But like the forest ones, they don't look like turkeys, and also they're also flying. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, let me know when I can read a donation.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, we have $25 from Game Duck, who says this game looks cool.
Thanks, Game Duck.
He's not wrong.
So this is another of the fighting arena levels I talked about earlier at Wild Den. There's one for each hub, this one being the one in Mansion. This one's probably the easiest out of them all. I think most people would agree. It's also quite small.
So what I'm trying to do here is called the Death Warp. There's some funky stuff that you can do with checkpoints in the game, and it skips having to go over most of the level.
So by falling into a death zone, while your character is in a dead state, the corpse still travels and then it hits a checkpoint. So you get teleported to that checkpoint, but that only works after you activate a checkpoint earlier in the level, because otherwise the level would just restart without a checkpoint activated.
Really? That didn't kill this guy? Oh,
in other
my
words, you have to
God.
climb up to a checkpoint, go back down to a death zone, throw your corpse at a checkpoint, and you will appear where that checkpoint leads. You can also get some momentum on the ground. You don't just have to use slopes, you can also hit the ground at a certain angle and you can get a tiny boost from that. And we'll see that pretty often in the mansion because there's a lot of flat ground. So what Flotsa will do is just approach the ground from a certain height and speed and down dash into it, and you'll get a little bit boost, and he'll just do the same dash rhythm that you do when you land on slopes. It'll have the same effects, but not as exaggerated.
So again, Flotsa is going to return to the Nexus in order to try to jump again, instead of climbing all the way back up to ramparts, then he would fall all the way down the forest.
It's a good example of momentum being a hard thing in this game.
And a really simple backup that I can try since I just haven't gotten it yet is just very quickly switch characters to Dust Kid, who has more jumps.
Do you actually normally do Observatory with Duskin?
Yep.
Okay.
That was close.
So sometimes you'll see the characters going a bit through the spikes. That's because the spikes don't actually have a direct hitbox. The hitbox is actually what they're attached to. So if you touch a wall in which spikes are attached, then that will actually cause death, not the spikes itself. So sometimes you can be more in spikes than what it looks.
Could also do
Well-
some pretty wild other things with spikes that hopefully we'll see come up later. You could like stand on them and stuff. Sometimes.
While the spike hitbox is only on the surface it attaches to, if you jump too closely to a wall, whether or not it's spiked, you will magnetize to the wall. So if you jump too close to a spiked wall, even though you're not touching the spikes as you are like ready to jump, you will attach to the wall with spikes on it when you press jump and die to them.
Which is really confusing for new players sometimes.
Yeah, there's a few levels in particular where that's not really a well-explained mechanic, and you end up dying a lot more because of it. But we'll talk more about that once it comes up.
Yeah, so the level hub is no joke. I mean, they made it hard intentionally because it's sort of a test of your skill to get to the level on top of being able to beat the level. So it kind of makes sense and it works thematically. Just makes speedruns a little more interesting.
There's been a lot of talk in the community about skipping this level in every full game run because everybody hates it. And
Wait, are you being serious about that, or what?
no.
Okay, because like I couldn't tell when you were talking about it during a practice run. Like I don't know, maybe there was talk about it. I don't know. I missed this. Like, you know? Yeah, there's really nothing too special going on in this level.
Except
It's
lots
really
of ground boosting and slow boosting.
Yeah.
It's a good example of that. You could see earlier on when he would just do some jumps off the ground, come back down onto the ground,
And
and he would start going faster. Just like this, ideally. There you go.
Yeah.
Faster. It's not necessarily as easy as it looks because you do have to start dashing at the right time as soon as you land on the ground. You have to do it from a certain height, all that good stuff.
Uh-oh. It's not the right character, but it's fine.
I believe.
I used to do this level with kids, so...
Oh, okay. You got this.
This is pretty much the same kind of shape as what was happening back in Forest, where you just go on top of the level and skip the entire thing.
It's actually a pretty small difference, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, one would think that they're both like way different in terms of timing, but they're like within a second probably, I think.
I think it's a bit more recently because of the shenanigans that some people did in the over-the-top route, but before
no.
the shenanigans, it was within a second, I think.
Not shenanigans.
It's infinite wall jumps are shenanigans.
Oh god, that's right. We probably don't need to talk about it, but yeah, you can sort of sometimes infinitely jump off a wall
Oh
occasionally.
god. Please. So I just recently, like within a couple of weeks, made the switch from controller to keyboard. And I would say it's like probably 50-50 split, or maybe a little bit more towards keyboard for people who play this game. But they're both totally legitimate ways to play this game. And,
Yeah, there's plenty of people at the higher ranks of the game who play with controller, and same goes with keyboard. It's not necessarily hard in favor of one versus the other. Or you know, you could play with like a light stick
True.
or steering wheel.
or a DDR pad.
Yeah. There's another clip that we sort of like the same thing we saw in the forest earlier, where you clip through the ceiling. That's just another guy, and it's just through the wall. That skips a fair amount in the level.
Alright, so this next level is really, really long, and I really don't want to have to sit through the entire thing.
I actually
Yeah,
have
take a
world record
break.
in this stage, so
Alright,
I'm
alright,
really
it's over,
ashamed that
cool.
I failed it.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
over
everyone
100.
fails it.
Yeah.
Like every single run. It's just a requirement to speedrun this game. You have to fail on that level.
That's a little sketchy.
It's all good.
There's a skip that you can do on this level, but I'm not confident in my ability to do it, so I'm just going the normal way. The intended route.
Did you do car park?
No, you're right, I'm gonna have to go back and do that.
Okay.
Good catch.
Forgotten
honestly.
car park.
Come on.
So right here, he got hit by the attack of the enemy, but the enemy was already dead, so the hitbox that he had of the attack was actually already removed. Which is why it looks like the attack just went through him.
I guess this was more so a thing in the mansion, but a lot of levels in the mansion, the city, are pretty long. I mean, if you're talking about SS, they can approach the 1 minute mark. With 80%, they tend to be a little shorter, but they're still very long compared to pretty much anything you find in Forest.
Dustforce in general has rather long levels compared to a lot
Yeah.
of other games that are focused on the individual level aspect. Which is where I would say most of the competition in this game is.
Yeah, well, this game is like incredibly well optimized for most levels, like basically every level. Like I can't think of any exceptions.
I think construction 70% is clearly not optimized. And not up to task levels yet.
There's no possible way to speed it up, right?
No,
I had to use my super there because I ran out of air charges. That's fine.
in the
You
same
get to
kind
pay
of
a
level.
friendly visit to everyone's favorite trash column.
Oh,
That's okay, because Kid kills things super quick. Sometimes the camera can be weird in this game.
yeah, I feel like sometimes they didn't necessarily anticipate the ways that some people would play through the level, so the camera doesn't necessarily cooperate.
So this is one of 3 levels in the game that don't have a checkpoint. I would say it's the... would you say it's the hardest to finish or the second hardest to finish?
The other two are Exa and...
Observatory, mainly.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Exa is really hard to finish.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would say
yeah,
Exa is harder. But first try, Clock Tower is pretty good.
Yeah, it's especially intimidating to approach a level that doesn't have any checkpoints in 80% because a lot of times in 80% you have that safety net of a checkpoint. Even if you die, it's like, it's a time loss, sure, but it's not a, I don't know, 20-second time loss. But in Clock Tower, if you die at the end, then I mean, that's a pretty big time loss.
Are you going for the spike stand here? Or any version of it?
I don't know it, so no.
Alright.
I mean, if you tell me, I'll go for it. Can't be that big a time loss.
Oh,
As Kid, it's kind of hard to explain, and you have to do stuff after you get it. It's not kind of immediately obvious. As Worf, it's fairly simple.
I'm guessing it's up here somewhere.
Yeah, it's at the top of this section.
Yeah, so you would have just kept the 2 ceiling runs and
Oh, so you
Just
just
like-
go straight up?
Yeah,
that's
instead of
pretty much it.
wrapping around, you go straight up. I think the man and girl strats are still to save a super and do this blind climb up the left wall. Is that still
It's
the optimal
awful.
thing to do?
it's awful.
So this level actually sucks,
Yeah, this
in
level
case you
is
weren't
just
able to
horrendous.
tell.
Oh god. Please let me go into the middle. I try and hit everything with my super, and I did.
The super does have a range, and it's deceptive. You know, if you can see everything on the camera, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can super everything on the camera. So if you were to be on, I don't know, the middle right side of alleyway when he did the super, he probably wouldn't have gotten the stuff on the left.
So this is Hideout, and it's notoriously the hardest level to, or usually the hardest level to SS for newer players.
When unlocking the difficult.
Yeah, when trying to go for the SS in the first place, and excluding the difficults, because there's just a lot of really precise jumps that you got to do. Mainly in those first two sections. The rest of it isn't so bad.
There's a lot of precise jumps, and there's a lot of sections where if you don't dash, it's a lot harder. So the faster you go in this level, the easier it is, because Dustforce is easier to control when you have good momentum. And it's a momentum-based game. So if you keep your momentum, it's easier. But a lot of people are scared of trying to go fast, and they make the level harder as a result.
So right here you see him jumping a lot on spikes. So there's a trick called spike jumping, which permits you to jump on every spike that has a 45-degree angle in whichever way. Where you both jump and hold down. So it helps you getting speed and going through the levels faster.
That was a nice ceiling boost that I wasn't expecting to see.
At the start,
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to see it either, honestly.
This is the lab now, by the way, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, we're done with the
Everything's
city.
shiny.
And green. Oh god. Oh no.
So early lab is really boring in my opinion.
I
All the
agree.
levels pass by really quickly. There's never feels like there's much you can do because they're not particularly difficult either. You just kind of have to sit through the minute and a half or so that it takes. Oh wait, this level doesn't have a checkpoint either, does it?
Wait, doesn't it?
It's not hard though.
Yeah, it's really easy, but I don't think it has a checkpoint.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But I never think of that level when people talk about levels without checkpoints, because usually
it's-
there's no trouble finishing it.
Yeah. In case you want to learn how to boost, this is probably a good level to do it.
Yeah.
So in this level, Flotsa wants enough dust in his combo meter to be able to super the end of the level, so that he doesn't have to manually attack every single blob with attacks. Those first 3 are usually gotten with attacks anyway, so that's not important. He got the dust at the time he wanted to get rid of the 2 blobs and the bear at the end.
Yeah, I did a tactical cheeky down heavy on the 3rd slime blob because I needed to get more dust or else I wouldn't have super. Ah, nope. damn.
So for this skip to work, you need to get a good corner boost so that you can reach another corner boost. But if you don't get it, you're gonna fall down and you have to restart. So it's like a 5-second loss.
Yeah.
This is like the first time in early lab where I actually am somewhat interested in the levels.
Well, it appears that I can't do it, so I'm just gonna not. Because it only saves, what, like 5 seconds? 10 seconds maybe?
I'd say it's more like 4 or 5. It's not too much. Especially if you take it safe and go to the first platform first. Which is the smart thing to do in a run.
Super attacks can also be useful if you're too lazy to make the journey to attack a creature that's guarding the ending flag. So use the super at the end of that level rather than walking up to it and having it, because it's actually faster.
So there's a route in this level where you go over the top. And as Dust Kid, it's quite simple because the only danger in this route, since you don't activate a checkpoint up here, so if you die at any point, you have to restart the level. But as Dust Kid, you don't have to do something called a short hop, which makes this really easy. Although it is a bit slower, it's the safe strat to do.
Hitting the blobs at the end is not easier, though.
So, when we were discussing levels where spikes magnet you to walls, this level is a notorious example. New players often, on one part of this level or another, sometimes will get stuck because they get magneted to walls.
Well, specifically, if you're in a vertical tunnel with spikes on the walls beside you, if you're too close to the wall, but not to the point where you're dying just by running into the wall, there can be a distance where trying to jump will pull you into the wall first, because the game works like that, and then let you try to jump from there. And the act of pulling you into the wall when you jump is what kills you, because it brings you into the spikes. But in the horizontal tunnels, yeah, hit rise will kill you. When you attack an enemy in the air in this game, you get a small amount of height, whether you light attack or heavy attack it. So that becomes a very noticeable problem in backup shift
Oh, damn.
for new players.
You can see it very easily if you try to do the same thing on a non-spiked wall. You'll see that you get a wall jump even though you were not grabbing the wall before that.
Yeah.
So in this level, you can just fall through a gap in the side of it to get to the end. And then you have to deal with these annoying spring blobs.
Ordinarily, though, you're supposed to go around the top right, which we didn't even see. You could also skip the entirety of this level just by not bothering with it.
This is also like part of what makes this level really hard to assess the first time as well. Because you have to pay attention to not skip any parts, since you can't really die on the very last section.
This is the hardest part of the game.
Honestly, yeah.
First try.
And there we go. Amazing. If you're trying to do that with Dustforce, by the way, and you're having a hard time, it's not your fault. You're not alone. It's really hard with Dustforce. It's hardest with him because he doesn't really get very much speed or keep his speed very well after he hits that slope.
Oh god.
That worked.
Spaghetti at the end, though.
Yeah.
Here I'm just gonna tactical spike jump because it's easy.
Nice.
Yep, there's him.
And now for the actual hardest thing in the game.
Getting into course control.
Oh god.
You need to get good corner boosts in this section, and then do some platforming that the game never really ever forces you to do anywhere else with that triangle block. It's not even in this level, it doesn't
Yeah.
appear anywhere in the game.
Although it should, it's a pretty cool mechanic. Uh-oh. For some reason, I just never really understood how to do this part with keyboard, even though it's like not different at all compared to how you do it with controller. The muscle memory just didn't translate, I guess.
What city level? He's done everything so far.
It'd be really funny though if I.
Oh
Wait
yeah,
a
he
minute,
did
what am I
everything.
doing? So this is just a neat clip to do here. Skips a tiny portion of this level.
Rather than bothering with
Yep,
that
that-
bottom right section,
that
you
was
just
okay.
go through the walls because it's faster to go through the walls.
And
So that's it for Scrub Present.
yeah, so that's the 4 regular areas of the game. Now we're on to a section called the difficults, where the hardest levels in the game are. So the first one that we're going to do is called Kilo Difficult, and it's about the same difficulty as some of the gold levels earlier on. Gold door levels. Or
Well, they
gold
might be the
key
hardest
levels.
to SS. Some of them are extremely easy to beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for any percent, yeah.
Which I think we'll be seeing next.
Which...
I was thinking of Mega.
yeah, sure, I could do Mega next.
Alright.
I don't really have a route for the, oh god. Oh no.
Mega takes what, like 35 seconds to SS? Is that right? Somewhere around there?
I think it's
don't know.
33 now.
Okay,
Well, yeah, world record strats.
Well, yeah.
yeah. But
This isn't Mega, whatever.
It's actually 30 seconds.
it's 30 seconds, okay. It takes a significant amount of time.
It's not what I was supposed to do.
So this is not Mega, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mega,
Sorry!
each level, in the difficulties is color-coded. And they're named after, I don't know, I guess the metric.
SI units?
The metric
Yeah.
prefixes.
So the level that we just played is Kilo, and this is Giga.
And we skipped Mega, we should have gone in order.
Oh, that would have been cool, yeah.
Uh-oh. Oh my god.
So there's a lot
So
of
you-
air control in this part, and that makes
Yeah.
it somewhat difficult.
Even though it's 80%, these levels aren't necessarily easy to beat. I mean, some of them are trivial, but things like this are still no joke. Just getting through them, whether or not you want to SS.
And he wants a super for this section right here, so that he doesn't have to deal with those walls. They're called Giga Walls, and
We'll be
they're
seeing more of
notorious in
them.
the community for being difficult to do. So
Okay,
he
here's
pushes
Mega.
them.
It's over.
Great level. That's not
And
the
here's
level that I need
Exa.
to do next.
Oh, come on.
I'm not doing Hexa. Not yet. Ah, damn. So, here we're gonna see a trick that I actually attempted way earlier in the run, but I didn't mention it because it's not actually part of the route, but...
Stop, stop,
No,
stop.
no, no! You see, this is important now. Okay, I got it.
There we go.
So this is a 1 pixel trick, right?
3 pixels.
3.
3 pixels.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's a 3 pixel trick. It's not too
At
difficult,
1080p.
but, yeah, just requires you to have 0 sideways momentum.
So that was Exa.
That was
Yeah.
Exa.
Yeah.
So there's another Death Warp in this level, except it acts differently than the one in Moon Temple, because you don't have to reach a checkpoint in order to get this.
And there I just did an empty jump because I wanted the camera to move upwards before I moved on, because it's hard to see stuff on this level otherwise. And that's it for the last of the easy difficulties.
And this is the worst level in the game, because it's the only level with RNG. You either do it well or you don't. It's like a 50-50 chance. You either choke or not. Speaking of which, there is no RNG in this game. Well, no
Okay.
meaningful RNG that will impact the game.
Kinda.
No RTA RNG. There's TAS RNG.
I mean, there could be RTRNG, but that would be
Oh, what?
that'd be a really big coincidence.
Let's just leave it at there's technically RNG, but it doesn't matter. Most of the
Iteration
time.
orders.
Oh god, that's not even RNG, but it is terrible.
Uh-oh.
I see.
Zed is also especially hard to SS because of a thing that the game doesn't explain to you. When you land on one of those slopes, everything the game has taught you up to now tells you to dash when you land on it because you'll go fast.
Uh-oh.
However, if you do dash when you land on one of those slopes before the ceiling slides, you won't get any of the dust at the beginning of the ceiling slides. And this confuses the actual heck out of new players because they'll do all that dash stuff and they won't really double check themselves because why would they? And they have no idea where they're missing dust, etc., etc. Anyway, this is 80%. We can dash all you want on those.
And here you could do a slope thing, just like all the rest of the level, but because I didn't take a checkpoint for safety, I'm just gonna take a take a completely safe route. So this has got a difficult, easily the hardest level in the game, and I'm just trying to get a dash jump, which is inputting a jump and a dash on the same frame in midair in order to skip over this wall of spikes.
So there's a few things he's actually doing here. The first one is abusing the fact that, for whatever reason in this game, your character does not have a hitbox at the bottom left of their character, so you can kind of just cling onto spikes if you're on the right side of them. And then he's trying to do an aerial dash jump, as he said, to use a dash and a jump on the same frame, which you're not supposed to be able to do. And then the third thing he's trying to do is to trigger a checkpoint so that he will death warp across the wall. So there's 3 important things that he's doing there.
You can also do a spike jump here.
Uh-oh. Oh no.
Get it? No.
Also, this level has no music.
Well, it does have music, but not yet.
Here we're
Only
just
if
trying
you're
to
a
do
champion.
Yeah, we're just trying to do the same thing that I was doing in Terra. Oh yeah, so Yada difficult is actually just the compilation level of all of the previous difficults plus its own section.
It's sort of a compilation. Like the styles are the same, but the levels are not exactly copied into it.
But that's the matchup to Terra difficult, that section that we just passed. And fittingly, you can just do a Terra drop.
Yeah, just like we did on the actual level.
So for this section, we're gonna say hello to a good friend of ours, I think. Are we?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah,
There we
let's give
go.
him a quick hello.
Say
It's
hello
Morgan
to Mr.
Freeman.
Freeman, everyone.
He's a pretty nice guy, actually. He doesn't talk a whole lot, but
Oh, saved.
Nice.
there we go.
Oh,
Alright, we're skipping this huge chunk, which the camera is panning over right now. That's a pretty significant amount of level that we just sail over. We just cruise over it and fall down and hopefully land on the platform that we landed on there.
so there's two different ways that you could set that up. You could either mash left and right so that your character's x-axis momentum basically goes down to nothing, or you can hold right and then do a spike jump on the Zeta wall that was directly to the right of the platform.
But the point is, you have to do it blind. You don't really have any visual cues. You just have to go by your memory.
So this is the last checkpoint of this level. It's really, really long. Like, there's no checkpoint on this little platform here before this slope into the ceiling, even though you might think there should be.
Weaving around the spikes around the top proves to be really, really hard. Not that it wasn't hard everywhere else, but it's like especially difficult up there. Just all the spikes are really tight.
And because Dustforce jumps so high, it's sometimes difficult to time your jumps so that you don't bonk on the spikes. Oh god.
Oh god,
Sick
that was so
jorf.
close.
Holy
That was
moly.
not a jork, I think. Anyway, that is
That
it.
was
Jeez.
Dustforce.
GG's.
Any percent, New Game Plus, all levels. Big shoutouts to the Dustforce community. This game is awesome. If you're interested in picking it up, there is a Discord linked on the Dustforce Reddit. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, congrats on PB, dude.
Yeah, what was the time?
57:36.
Any percent, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's really fast.
You know when you told me before that you weren't going to go way underestimate and throw off the schedule? Well, congrats on going way underestimate and throwing off the schedule.
Well, if you need me to fill in, I can show stuff off. There's plenty of other cool levels that.
Let me, yeah, just start playing some stuff and I'll check to make sure everything's ready for the next
Okay.
run.
Oh, Insanity, I guess.
No.
Oh god, no.
So,
Why?
the
Yay.
Dustforce community makes a lot of maps themselves due to the in-game editor that is